Anybody give you any trouble?
Yeah, here I am, arming Lannisters, and they never get a second look. No, you were right. Safest place for me was right under the Queen's nose.
Don't be so sure. Safety is never a permanent state of affairs. Bad things are coming.
Season 7, congratulations on making it this far.
Yeah, still alive, just about.
When you pick up the scripts for the new season, is the first thing you do get to the end to make sure you are at the end?
All you can hear is act. There's no talking. The minute they all pass them around, everyone's like this. When did I die? Am I alive? Yeah, it's very exciting when you get the script.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Now we can't wait till season 8 because no one knows still, and
well, they still don't. They don't know if we make it through season 7 first and foremost.
Especially now that we're beyond the books, and we don't even have the books as a kind of guide to some indication. I know that the series deviates from the book sometimes, but we don't even have anything to give us any indication whether we are alive or not. So I think we all, as actors, are incredibly paranoid.
Yeah.
And one thing that I found at the end of season 6 was where Sam arrives at the Citadel, because I'm quite a paranoid actor, as actors tend to be quite paranoid. I thought, oh God, if they wanted to end his story on a high note, this is a great place for them to end it. Then I start to think, well, maybe you don't have to die to leave the show. Maybe you can leave the show on a high. Maybe they're giving Sam a reward and that's the end of his storyline. So it's not even, it goes beyond dying. You just think that they're going to, for artistic reasons, iron you out of the show.
Yeah. Some actors get all of the scripts and some actors just get their pages. Oh. So if you get the scripts, you're very lucky, then you can see what the storyline is about. But if you're unlucky, you only get the scenes that you're a part of. And I've tried both. And I can tell you one thing, I actually like just to get my pages. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I was such a big fan of Game of Thrones that I would like to be surprised. I like to know what is not going on. So I get the chance to see it in a couple of years when it's all done, you know.
It would also be a shame if you had just, you know, when you have just joined the series and, you know, you get to your second year's work, which is not that, you know, far off you've started shooting, and if you were on like page 4, you're going to shit, like, kill me. You'd feel like you'd failed, you know what I mean? So I don't...
But that can happen.
It can happen. But, you know, I don't do that, you know, read through the scripts looking for to see what happens. And I don't particularly want to know what other people are up to either. I mean, I tend to, just to keep abreast of, like, you know, in story terms, I suppose you need to know what the dynamic of an episode is, and, you know, is it, you know, does it need to slow down here? Is this a kind of a calm before the storm moment or whatever? But just getting your pages, you know, is not a bad thing either, because you're not playing what other people are doing. Cause, you know, because oftentimes the stories are so isolated anyway. I've never looked through with trepidation like that, and, you know, anything that happens is meant to happen anyway. So it's all cool.
When you first got the script, was your natural response to go through to see what happens to your character and see if you make it to the end, or are you past that by now?
By now, past it. I mean, the trajectory of the show is very much on its course, and I don't think there's going to be there's going to be anything to be done to change things that might happen. Also, you know, the showrunners have got us to where we are now, so there's definitely going to be a reason for whatever happens. And, you know, if you're going to die on a TV show, Game of Thrones is the one to die on, isn't it? So there's no worries there, really.
Do people find out that they get killed I thought David and Anne ring you up or something and give you the bad news, do they?
Yeah, I heard that actually.
Yeah, sometimes it's...
But they also don't know, sometimes it could be a wind-up as well, you know, they do that.
Yeah, they've done that
sometimes.
too. They've told people they were dead and they weren't, and all sorts of things. It's awful. They're just sick, those two.
Yeah, yeah.
And how did making this series compare to making season 6? Obviously, it's slightly shorter.
It's slightly shorter, but, you know, as I've said, it's 7 episodes with 10 episodes worth of drama crammed in there somehow. And every day felt like the stakes were higher. There seemed to be huge sequences being shot like every other day, like complex sequences with a multitude of extras and all sorts of, you know, technical hijinks and stuff. There seemed to be like key pivotal sequences being shot all the time this year.
7 episodes, but from what I'm led to understand, no less drama, packed as much in as ever before.
No, I mean, I don't think HBO would put it out there if they didn't think it was, you know, it wouldn't have been made, it wouldn't have been written, that season wouldn't have been greenlit if it wasn't just as good as the rest of them, if not better. And you know, there's less time to do things, but it doesn't mean there's going to be less drama.
I would reckon you get 10 episodes worth in the 7 episodes that we.
Maybe you get 12 episodes worth in the 7 episodes. You could be an embarrassment of riches, I believe is the phrase. What we've done, we've definitely for the 7 eps, we've spent about the same time shooting those 7 as we'd normally do for 10. So basically, as a result of that, they've had a bit more time. HBO have thrown a bit more money at it.
Oh, just a bit.
Yeah. So the scope and the scale of this, I think, from what I've seen, is definitely more cinematic. In other words, the canvas is wider, it's bigger, it's, you know, and some of the locations are just absolutely stunning.
I mean, the scale is apparent. You know, you get used to it, but you know, I'm never take it for granted. You know, and it's inspiring to be on a set like, say for example, a Winterfell set or something like that. You know, if there's a corner, the fact that you can slip off around a corner and sit in a snowy courtyard on your own, where there's nothing happening, where there's no filming going on, and that's just like the back of somewhere, and just take a little moment, and it's quite inspiring. You know, if you really want to get in the mood, there are many little nooks and crannies you can just squirrel away into, and that's a real gift.
The scale is something that kind of goes over my head now, because everyone's quite close, everyone knows each other, there's no divas, everyone gets on really well in every department, cast and crew, and it feels very intimate because of that.
Obviously winter has now come, so did that make shooting that much harder, because it must have been pretty cold?
Well, sometimes, bizarrely, you're actually, there's been some scenes where we're in a blizzard, but everybody is pouring with sweat because it isn't that cold, and we've been doing a lot of scenes for months in Belfast where it's meant to be cold and stuff, and they've been trying to reproduce that, and they've had giant fans, people throwing snow in front of the fans, and we can't hear you can't hear any dialogue. So you've been lip reading for months, and then wait till studio to try and make it look sensible.
You know, usually you'd be shooting through August and a bit of July, and you'd kind of be done before it got properly bitterly cold, but we were right there throughout a harsh Belfastian winter. But I think one of the atmosphere on set was also just a little bit like, I think the crew are exhausted and ready to be done with the whole thing, because some of them have had to completely relocate their families for the past 7 years. But there's just this slightly somber twinge of going, you know, these people we've been seeing regularly every year, we're all going to we're not going to have an excuse to come and hang out anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get the sense that things are coming to a head now. I
haven't met one person on this that wants the story to end, but it has to end. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we don't want to be like those other shows that outstay their welcome and just do that, and quality-wise do that. So I think it's only right that we should wrap it up.
A lot of the talk kind of online and in the future has moved to prequels and what will happen next with the show.
Yeah.
I mean, what personally, are there any characters that you particularly think I'd love to see that backstory explored a bit more? Anyone from the past who personally, that's the story you'd like to keep telling?
Just like a spin-off, all about Bran.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be called, all about Bran.
All Bran.
Oh, I like it. Oh, he's very good. I think finding out about a young Robert Baratheon would be fascinating.
Yeah, the rebellion.
As a fan, is there a story that you would particularly like to see told?
As a fan, yeah, I'd like to see I'd like to see Robert's rebellion. There's so much stuff going backwards that you could do. There's so much stuff going forwards that you could do. There's side quels and everything that could be made. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but I think for me personally, it would be really interesting to see stuff from back in the day, because you know the flashbacks have hinted at a few things already, but also the history of what's gone before has been so important in terms of how things are now in Westeros. So I think exploring that would be really interesting.
What story would you like to see told in more depth?
Better Call Davos. That's what I think would be really cool. Would you be up for that? You don't even know what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
Dude thinks the idea of television is a really bad idea. He doesn't.
If
doesn't
I
think
was
it's a very
if I
good
was
invention.
involved in a prequel, I'd like it to be before Sandor got his burns, but that's when he was a kid. That wouldn't work. Then it wouldn't.
Well,
be
you
cast.
just don't like getting a prosthetic on, do
I
you?
know. I'm just trying to think how I could cut out at least 4 hours in bloody makeup. I could play Sandor's dad. Yeah, that would work.
How did the Euron Greyjoy become a pirate? That could be interesting to see, because he travels the whole world. He's at so many different islands and stuff like that. And then you go back and take someone else.
Yeah.
And then I can answer afterwards again.
Maybe also young Cersei. Be interesting to see her before she's so cold.
And how did Jaime Lannister become the Kingslayer? How far do you have to push a guy to actually kill your own king?
We're the last Lannisters. The last ones who count.
I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms. And I will.
Your father and brothers are gone, yet here you stand. Last best hope against the coming storm.
If we don't put aside our enmities and band together, we will die. And then it doesn't matter whose skeleton sits on the Iron Throne.